I awake as if from a long sleep. My body, unfeeling as a sensation of being stuck within a whirlwind, fills me. There is a dread that rises in the pit of a stomach I no longer possess as I am thrown about, forming a familiar structure as I begin to attune to my other senses. I hear the noise of chanting, a ritual being performed. Though how I can see without eyeballs is less of a mystery after the umpteenth time I've been raised from the dead. Memory comes next. Flashes of a past life that cause my skull to burn and shoot white-hot pain throughout my skeleton. The remnants of the person I was before being brought from the brink of death. I remember how it began. In a small township, I was once a knight. Just an ordinary man sent to war to fight for a country that barely acknowledged my existence. But it was work, and that meant food, and a mostly honest living. My family had grown up here, past generations as well as new ones. A brother, a mother, and father, each living their own lives. But the thing, no, the person whom I remember the most fiercely and clearly was her, my beloved, the woman who I'd fallen in love with, the person with whom I'd planned to spend the rest of my life before the war called me. She was a magnificent witch, who commanded all sorts of power and respect due to her genius intellect. But she was more than that. She was caring, sweet, compassionate, and more beautiful than any word could ever hope to convey.
That's right. Remember who you were. Come back to me now.
I feel the searing pain of the memory and heartache the day I left for the war front. I remember the feeling of soft, warm lips on my cheeks, the gentle, salty tears running down our faces, her hands in mine, the warm beat of her heart in her chest as I pressed the other hand there with a desire to never forget what she felt like, smelt like, tasted like. Memories that would never burn away no matter how many times I'd rise from the grave. Her eyes a dark green, golden hair blazing in the sunlight, my heart slowing as I kiss her one last time and promise her I'd return to her, no matter what. I would return to her. She places a kerchief in my hand, silken and soft, a reminder of my promise. And as stars and moons, designs that remind me each day of her. I keep it in my breastplate, close to my heart so that I will never forget her. I never do. And I am grateful to have the token of her love. The memory fades, giving way to my final living memories on the battlefront. My greatest shame, my failure to fulfill my promise to her. I look on, unable to pull my gaze away, but the weight of my loss is heavy against the heart that dried up an unknowable amount of years ago. I watch as I fight to push my comrades to defend against the enemy. I cut down a man without looking back, moving on to the next and guiding my barely trained halberd to slam down on his head. He blocks the blow, pushing the shaft aside, his own blade ready to plunge into my unarmored side. White, hot agony fills my chest as his barbed knife plunges into my left kidney. His fierce, blazing eyes staring daggers into me. He takes delight in killing me, pulling his sword out roughly and cackling in my face before stomping off to his next kill. Wind hits my face as I sink to my knees before slumping face first into the mud. It is difficult to breathe, and it comes in ragged heaves, blood filling my mouth as the world slowly begins to fade. Another wasted life for some aristocrats elsewhere to claim is necessary for the survival of the kingdom. My angry thoughts subside as I focus all of my last remaining energy on thinking of her. Lenore. That was her name. The name of the woman who I adored above all others, the woman whose voice I'd never hear again tell me about her studies, books she had just read, and the excited squealing she'd make at a new discovery. The sight of her hands weaving magic, making potions, and doing the impossible, as if it were no more difficult than skipping rocks at a pool. I feel the tears run down my face. How could I have failed her so miserably? How could I have broken my promise to the woman who mattered most to me? How could I allow myself to die in a dirty field and break her heart? A burst of determination wasn't enough to move my limbs, which refused to answer my mind's cries of protest. The last of my breath leading to my heart, slowly stopping as I struggled to fight against the growing darkness around me. The sounds of the world fade, and I am dead.
It's okay. Keep pushing forward. Don't give in to despair. You are so nearly back.
I begin to remember the first time I woke from the sight of battle. I could feel nothing. I could only open my eyes. Bodies. Dozens of them surrounded me. My armor clung to me and rattled as I rose, believing it to be a miracle that I had somehow survived. Realization set in as I saw the truth. My hands emaciated and gray. I was dead, yet somehow I walked. Fear rose in me. Had a necromancer conjured me to do its bidding? Had I been constricted into this legion of the damned for some demon or entity beyond comprehension? Was I cursed to wander for my failure to fulfill the promise to Lenore? Or, perhaps worst of all, this was hell, and I was to relive the battle for all eternity, to relive my failure and be parted forever from the woman I loved.
Do not be afraid. You are stronger than you know. I will not abandon you to the darkness.
I lift myself up from the spot, eyes wandering over the bodies around me once more. No one else rises. All combatants have gone, and I realize I've been piled in a mass grave to be forgotten alongside the other men I came to this place with. A few enemy cadavers still remain out on the fields, but I alone seem to be awake. Moving with slow purpose, I make a new vow. To return home and apologize to Lenore for my disgrace, and to see her one last time before laying myself to rest. She wouldn't be afraid of me, I knew. She would be fascinated and seek to understand what happened to me, to make me rise from the grave. But she would be given some amount of closure. I walked, little knowing I was not heading to the correct location. It took weeks to realize I was lost, and the few people I saw along the road screamed in terror at seeing me. I still had fat skin and sinew then, and I could only imagine what sort of ghastly figure I must have struck. I learned to travel at night, unable to find direction beyond the few signposts pointing me to towns I had not heard of. One night, a group of bandits jumped me to take my armor. By then, my flesh had been decomposing for some time, but they were not deterred by my appearance. They struck me down, and I awoke again without armor, and without Lenore's gift. I was angered, and for the first time I marched with a renewed purpose. I would get my love's kerchief back. It took time to track down the bandits, who were perturbed at seeing the dead man rise once more for vengeance. They fought, but I had found a new strength in my pursuit of my belongings and quickly disarmed them. The last of the bandits who stood to fight me cowered before surrendering my belongings to me. They were left scarred and scared, but not dead. Rumors later spread of a dead man wandering the earth, and there were many attempts to kill me again. Many succeeded for a time, but each time I would rise stronger than the last, retrieved my effects from would-be heroes, and continued my trek to find my home and my love. After the last group of heroes were dispatched and similarly defeated, I had no more trouble with clerics, paladins, or wizards seeking to put me down. The few of them who cared enough about my unfinished business were sure to alert the guilds and heroes that I was to remain unharassed moving forwards, though I still occasionally had to fight various thieves and killers. Each time I rose from a fight, my body decayed further until I was little more than a skeleton in armor, a form which disguised my strength, stamina, and abilities, though after years of wandering it seemed that I was no closer to home. These memories flashed like minute moments of mindfulness that did little but misdirect me from my mission: to find her, to see her, to tell her just how much I love her still. There are moments, though, when I realize something truly frightening, something that locks me in place for hours, even days at a time as I attempt to overcome the terror. When the sun is high and the breeze is gentle, and my thoughts turn to her, I realize that I have lost something. Maybe something small, like the particular curl of her fingers as she turns the pages of her books, or something so very important, like the way her lips would curl whenever I said her name. But I would be unable to move, unable to even contemplate moving until I had dragged it back from whatever darkness it had floated away to. Once, I had forgotten the color of her eyes, her beautiful dark green eyes, and after I had regained the full memory of her perfection, I discovered that flowers and grass had begun to grow between the bones of my feet, crawling up my legs. Wild daisies and buttercups, the kind she would always weave into her hair if we stumbled upon them during our walks amidst the trees. How could I have forgotten her eyes? The only reason I didn't cry was because there were no more eyes in my head, nor tear ducts.
These memories, they're important, even the painful ones. Don't let go. Keep moving forward.
I sense my body moving again, staunchly ignoring the knowledge of time passing as I collected a few of the blossoms and tucked them away in her handkerchief, my most prized possession, no longer pristine but frayed at the corners, but the constellations remained intact, and that was enough. I had not failed her. Not yet. The damp of the morning dew and the occasional rainfall imprint the colors of the petals upon the fabric, long after the flowers themselves have wilted and fallen away. I replace the flowers when I can, the scent of them keeping her in my mind, bright and laughing and everything I love. The only thing I love. The only thing I can focus on. The thing that allows me to rise each time I fall. And I fall many times. Each time takes a little longer to get back up again. But I refuse to lay down and die for too long, cursing my bones at the idea of losing my Lenore. I no longer cared about traveling at night or through the forests. I only care about the loosening of the threads of her handkerchief and the fraying of her memory in what is left of my mind. I did not know the dead could feel such fear, but it was burrowed into the very marrow of me like maggots of tar and pitch, consuming everything but the brightness of her. The most painful thoughts come to my mind as I travel alone, thoughts of her moving on. How many years had it been? Would she scream at the sight of me? Would she know it was me by the time I arrived? The pain of thinking she had married and had children in the time I was away fills me with a fear that propels me further. I shambled down the roads and through the towns and across the streams and fields and farmsteads. I hear screams often, but I have never stopped. And after a while, the screams stop as well, transforming into prayers and wishes. May you find her soon. May your journey end happily. May she be waiting for you with open arms.
Oh, what good news this is. They no longer feared you, and you are so nearly at your destination.
I wish to thank them for their kindness, but I have no lips to speak, no tongue to shape the words, and no desire to stop long enough to try. The handkerchief is becoming threadbare, and my missing heart has grown colder and more frantic with each new hole I discover in the fabric. It becomes my heart, folded tightly and tucked beneath my breastplate, somehow still shiny and bright, with only a few dents and spots of rust. I feel it caressing my ribs as I walk, protected by everything I am, and guiding me towards her. Finally, I see myself come to a hill in the distance. Over it I see the place where I grew up. The sun shining on familiar rooftops and faces, though the faces are much older now. Grayer now. I move to the faces, hand reaching out, and there is no mistaking my gesture. The villagers recognize my armor. They recognize the pain and weight I carry. They do not fear me, but speak with pained expressions describing how my family had passed away. They could see my responses, the nodding and shaking of my head. I wish I could speak, but they tell me stories of my loved ones, and I listen patiently. The stories are filled with joy, sorrow, and all the things one could expect. Yet they cannot hear my questions about Lenore. Some of my family have moved away, moved on, but no one speaks about Lenore, until at last I point to her old home and point to the tower where she had studied. One man puts the pieces together and explains that she has been gone for a few years now, that she has left in search of the man she loves, whom she was obsessed about. He senses my crestfallen and disheartened demeanor as he looks at me with a grimace. He explains that Lenore has become a powerful witch, powerful beyond all reckoning in the village, and that she has not changed since her love left for war. He went on to explain further how the rumors of an undead man had come to their village and spread all over the kingdom. He tells me my story, and I understand that over the years I've had adventurers fight me, thinking I was some sort of ill omen or warning of some danger. That is, until a cleric came across me and commanded me to speak. Thenceforth my story had been given to all passers-by. I remember in that moment a companion who followed me for some stretch, who had warned others to leave me be, for my quest was one of the utmost importance. It was only with the telling of the story that I realized why I had been greeted with kindness elsewhere. It was why I was able to find my way home. But my non-existent heart now ached, for my Lenore was no longer here. The man is kind enough, as well, to take me to my old home. It is bare, and no one resides in it now. It has been preserved, he tells me, at the request of Lenore, who had claimed to put a curse on anyone who would dare occupy it before I should return.
And now you have returned at last. There is one more thing for you to do, my love.
I can hear her voice in the present now. I can sense the presence with me in the very home I had grown up in. Somehow, it is as if I can feel warmth in my bones. I look around and see something in the darkness of my home. Candles surrounding me. A shape shifts to a standing position in the distance, and at long last I hear her speak again. The voice of an angel, though I worry I am unable to convey the effect she has on me.
Darling, it's really you. After all these years, you've come back to me, as you promised you would. Oh, how I've dedicated my life to being with you again.
Lenore! But how can I speak?
I've learned much in the years you've been gone. I've also changed much since we last parted. I fear you may not look upon me the same.
I have thought about how the years might change my love, and how she might look as an old woman. It would not change a thing for me so long as it was Lenore. Lenore! My love! It should be me hiding in the shadows from you, not the other way around. Look at how I have failed you. How shameful I must appear to have taken this long to return, and in such a... Shame once again fills me, and I am overcome with emotion, unable to speak what I know to her. So many times I've recited these words in my head, hoping and praying that I could be forgiven my transgression. She steps closer, the heel of her boot under her dress sharp on the stone. There is a hesitation as I see her hands reach out for my skull. I had forgotten that I was taller than her, but seeing her small form approach is like water to a man who has gone without it for days. It soothes me, and the protests die on my teeth as she moves to allow me to see her in the full light. I am in awe to see her unaged, focused solely on her enchanting eyes, face, and hair.
You have nothing to be ashamed of. I should be the one who's ashamed. That with all my powers and abilities, I couldn't save you from this fate. That I could not find you when rumor spread of the soldier searching for his love. Your devotion moved so many hearts, but none more than my own. How long I've waited to see you. Now we can finally be together once again.
But how? Aren't I to turn to dust now that I have fulfilled my oath?
You're no revenant, nor a wight, nor even a death knight. You are something greater than that. You are love incarnate, and a reminder that death is sometimes not enough to conquer it. You, my dearest knight, are mine. And so long as we two stand, nothing will get in the way of our love again.
She lifts her arm and I notice the missing skin. Skeleton, like my own. The scar on her chin as she lifts her head up, eyes closed. My love, who has not aged a day, showing signs of decay. My love, your arm, your chin. What has befallen you? Has someone done this? I shall...
Hush, my love. You needn't fret. This was simply part of the process.
Process?
For me to be with you eternally. I have made many sacrifices, and made myself immortal as you are now. No longer tied to flesh and blood, nor the sands of time. Only to our love for all eternity. Together.
But how could this be? How can I feel your bones against my bones? How can I touch you again? Have you performed this miracle?
I have. For us.
I am amazed that after all these years, with all of your knowledge, you could have found another, someone greater than me. Yet here you stand, the very definition of beauty.
How could I find someone greater than you? No other would walk the world a corpse just to find me. No one would show such devotion.
Wait, I've just remembered. Your handkerchief. I return it to you, though it is far more frayed and worn now.
Oh my, you've had this all along. My brave knight, risking literally everything to return it to me. Allow me to return this gesture with yet another token of my affection. But is there anything wrong, my darling? You've said nothing. Is there something wrong with me that you will not say? Is it that I am a lich that draws you away from me?
I can feel the kiss, even after the fact, the warmth of it, despite neither of us having running blood and organs. It runs like electricity over my bones, and I cannot but stare at her for a time. This gesture, after all these years, brings something fierce and joyful in me as I scoop her up with a laugh, spinning her to her surprise. No more aimless wandering for me, no more screams of fear. Hearing your laughter again, I know that we shall never more part. In death I have found true happiness with the woman I love. You have always been everything, and will be forevermore. How could I run from you, the truest of loves? We kiss again, and golden light shines down upon us as the sun sets far beyond our home. And for the first time in untold years, my bones find peace and rest. I am home, and I shall never leave it. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for enjoying this audio and listening to it all the way through. And a huge shout out to my editor, Corecircuit, who put the finishing touches on this audio. This one was weeks in the making, between writing the script acting it and getting the incomparable Autumn Ivy to voice Lenore in this one, it took a bit of time, but I can't tell you how grateful I am that everything is done. It's wonderful, and I felt like it would be a good way of kicking off some of the more spooky stuff coming in October for those of you who are on YouTube and not on Patreon. For my patrons, you guys are getting this within September, so it will pad out some of the audios that are coming. There'll be other audios coming earlier than November that most of you on YouTube will be getting much later. But I do want to thank you guys so much for all of your support, and thank you for, like, favorite, sharing, commenting, subscribing, and doing all the things that you do. I also want to thank, again, Corecircuit for editing and Autumn Ivy for her role in this. Another person I'd like to shout out is the artist who inspired me to write this script. Through a little bit of investigating, I had found this artist on Twitter, and Corecircuit was actually able to find the artist who was not credited on Twitter. You'll be seeing the image here. It is an actual acrylic painting that he did. It's called Amor. And it is gorgeous fucking artwork. And you can see why it was something that inspired me. The artist is named Darkest One, and it's literally the number one. He's a Russian artist. I'm going to be linking their information over here so that you guys can go check out their art and also give them some much needed love. Really amazing work. Go support them. Absolutely go follow their social medias. They do some amazing artwork. I'm hoping that someday in the near future I'll be able to actually be able to commission them for art, but I've got a lot of irons in the fire right now, so you'll have to bear with me. That being said, I want to thank you all again for your support. It's meant a lot to us, meaning me and my family. You guys have helped us a crazy amount, so I want to thank you guys again, from the bottom of my heart. Alright, in the meantime, I'll see you guys in the next audio. Sweet dreams, and pleasant nightmares.